You see, it might interest you to know that in my years of walking on this earth, observing people and their ways, I've come to realize something profound. Intelligence isn't just about how much you know. It's about how you live, how you treat others, and how well you learn from your mistakes. But here's the twist. There are certain unmistakable signs, 6 of them to be exact, that reveal when someone is completely bankrupt of wisdom. Now, before you roll your eyes or chuckle at the thought of this list, let me tell you why it matters. Spotting these signs isn't about judging others. It's about reflection, growth, and yes, avoiding these pitfalls in our own lives. It's also about helping those who might not even realize they're stuck in their own cycle of foolishness. Welcome to the Stoic Citadel channel. But before we begin, please do well to like and subscribe to this channel, and tell us where you are watching from in the comments below. So join me on this journey of discovery. Together, we'll uncover the 6 undeniable signs of a foolish person, each carrying a lesson, a story, and a mirror for us to reflect upon. Because the path to wisdom always begins with awareness. Ready to walk this road with me? Let's begin. 1. A closed mind. A person who refuses to consider new perspectives is shutting the door to growth. They hold tightly to their beliefs, rejecting new ideas without question. This stubborn mindset prevents progress and keeps them stuck in outdated ways of thinking. Imagine someone who refuses to adapt at work, insisting on doing things the old way despite new tools that could improve efficiency. Instead of learning, they resist, blaming others when problems arise. This attitude doesn't just hold them back, it limits those around them. The solution? Stay open to learning. Admit when there's more to understand and be willing to explore different viewpoints. Growth only happens when you're willing to step outside your comfort zone in a quiet town. There was a carpenter named Eli. He had been building furniture for over 40 years, using the same techniques his father had taught him. His work was sturdy, reliable, and traditional. But as time passed, new tools and methods emerged that made carpentry easier and more efficient. One day, a young apprentice named Jonah joined Eli's workshop. Jonah had studied modern woodworking techniques and introduced ideas that could improve their craft. But Eli shook his head. "This is how it's always been done," he said firmly. "No need to change what works." Jonah respected Eli's experience, but saw potential for growth. One evening, he stayed late and used the new techniques to build a chair. It was stronger, smoother, and took half the time to make. The next morning, he placed it in the workshop. When Eli saw the chair, he frowned. But as he examined it closely, he realized its craftsmanship was flawless. Hesitant yet curious, he asked Jonah how he had built it. For the first time in years, Eli listened. He tried the new techniques, and to his surprise, they worked beautifully. He smiled and placed a hand on Jonah's shoulder. "I was too proud to learn," Eli admitted. "But wisdom is knowing when to grow." From that day forward, Eli embraced learning with an open heart. His business flourished, and he became not just a master craftsman, but also a teacher willing to evolve. Lesson: wisdom isn't about holding on to the past. It's about staying open to the future. 2. Constant blaming. People who avoid responsibility often look for someone else to blame when things go wrong. Instead of reflecting on what they could have done differently, they point fingers at circumstances, other people, or bad luck. Take an example of someone who fails at a project and immediately blames their team or the market. But in reality, their own decisions played a role. By refusing to take ownership, they miss the opportunity to learn and improve. True growth comes from taking responsibility. Instead of focusing on external excuses, ask, "What could I have done better?" Acknowledging mistakes isn't a weakness. It's the first step toward getting stronger. Lena loved gardening. Every spring, She planted rows of tomatoes, carrots, and flowers in her backyard. But this year, nothing was growing. The leaves wilted, the soil hardened, and the flowers refused to bloom. Frustrated, Lena blamed everything but herself. "It's the weather," she sighed. "Too much rain last week. The seeds must be bad," she muttered. "My neighbor's tree is blocking the sunlight," she complained. One afternoon, her elderly neighbor, Mr. Harris, watched as Lena kicked at the dry soil in frustration. Smiling, he handed her a small, thriving potted plant. "This one grew just fine," he said. "Same weather, same sun. The difference? I made sure the soil was right, watered it properly, and took care of it every day." Lena looked at the plant, then at her own neglected garden. She suddenly realized she had been so busy blaming outside factors that she never considered her own role in the problem. The next morning, instead of making excuses, she got to work. She enriched the soil, adjusted her watering schedule, and paid closer attention to her plants. Within weeks, green sprouts began to emerge. By summer, her garden was thriving, and this time, Lena didn't blame luck. She credited her own effort. Lesson: growth begins when you stop blaming and start taking responsibility. Point 3. Arrogance over humility. A person who always believes they are the smartest in the room blocks their own potential. Instead of listening and learning, they dominate conversations, dismiss others' ideas, and seek validation rather than improvement. For example, a leader who never accepts feedback will eventually face setbacks. Their unwillingness to listen to others creates blind spots, leading to mistakes that could have been avoided. Humility is the key to growth. Wise individuals know that learning is a lifelong process. Instead of proving they're right, they focus on gaining new insights. The best way to grow is to embrace humility and remain open to learning from everyone. Ethan was the best baker in town. At least, that's what he believed. He had won awards, received praise from customers, and had a long line outside his shop every morning. But as time went on, fewer people came. "Maybe they don't appreciate quality anymore," Ethan scoffed. One day, an old man walked into the shop and ordered a loaf of bread. He took one bite, frowned, and said, "It's good, but it's missing something." Ethan bristled. "I've been baking for 15 years. I know what I'm doing." The old man smiled. "Then you won't mind a challenge. Come to my bakery tomorrow morning." Reluctantly, Ethan went. The man worked differently, measuring carefully, kneading patiently, letting the dough rest longer than Ethan ever did. When Ethan took a bite of the finished loaf, he was shocked. It was better than his. Humbled, he asked, "What's your secret?" The man chuckled. "After 40 years of baking, I'm still learning. The moment you think you know everything, you stop improving." That day, Ethan realized his arrogance had been holding him back. Instead of defending his past success, he started asking questions, experimenting, and, most importantly, listening. Soon, his shop was full again, but this time, he welcomed every piece of feedback with a smile. Lesson: true wisdom isn't about knowing everything, it's about staying open to learning. 4. Lack of empathy. Foolishness often shows up as a disregard for others' feelings. People who lack empathy struggle to connect with those around them. They dismiss emotions, minimize struggles, and fail to consider how their actions affect others. This behavior damages relationships, both personal and professional. Without empathy, communication breaks down, trust erodes, and conflicts arise. The antidote is practicing active listening and trying to understand different perspectives. True wisdom involves not just knowledge, but also the ability to connect with and uplift others. Lena was always in a hurry. As a rising executive, she had no time for small talk or other people's problems. "Work hard, move fast, and don't get distracted," she told herself. One rainy evening, she boarded a crowded bus, exhausted from a long day. A little boy sat next to her, kicking the seat absent-mindedly. His father, looking weary, tried to calm him down. Irritated, Lena snapped, "Can't you control your kid?" The father sighed. "I'm sorry. He's just restless. We just came from the hospital." Something in his voice made Lena pause. "Hospital?" she asked hesitantly. The man nodded. "His mother passed away this morning. He doesn't understand yet, and I don't know how to tell him." A wave of guilt washed over Lena. She had been so focused on her own stress that she hadn't considered what others might be going through. Taking a deep breath, she softened. "I'm sorry for your loss," she said gently. Then, turning to the boy, she handed him a small toy keychain from her bag. "Hey, do you like superheroes?" she asked with a smile. His eyes lit up, and for the first time that day, his father smiled too. From that moment on, Lena made a promise to herself, to slow down, to listen, and to see people not as obstacles, but as human beings with their own struggles. Lesson: empathy isn't just kindness. It's understanding that everyone is fighting battles you can't see. 5. Fear of change. Resisting change is a sign of stagnation. Many people cling to what is familiar, even when it no longer serves them. This fear keeps them from taking risks, embracing new opportunities, or adapting to life's inevitable shifts. Change is uncomfortable, but it's also where growth happens. Instead of fearing it, approach change with curiosity. Ask, "What can I learn from this?" Every challenge presents a chance to evolve. For 30 years, Mr. Thompson had owned a small bakery in town. His shop smelled of fresh bread and cinnamon rolls, and the regulars loved his old-fashioned recipes. But times were changing. A new bakery down the street offered trendy pastries, online orders, and delivery services. Slowly, Mr. Thompson's customers began to dwindle. His daughter, Emily, suggested updating the bakery, adding new recipes, launching a website, and offering home deliveries. But Mr. Thompson shook his head. "This is how I've always done things," he said. "If people don't want my bread, maybe it's time to close up." One evening, Emily set up an online page for the bakery without telling him. She posted pictures of his famous apple pie and shared stories about growing up in the shop. To their surprise, the next morning, dozens of orders had come in. Seeing the excitement, Mr. Thompson hesitated. "I don't know anything about websites," he admitted. Emily smiled. "Then let me teach you." Slowly, he embraced the change. He learned how to take online orders, experimented with new flavors, and even started a weekly storytime baking video for his customers. Before long, his bakery was thriving again, not because he abandoned his past, but because he was willing to grow. Lesson: fear of change can keep you stuck, but embracing it opens new doors. Growth happens when you take the first step. 6. Talking more than listening. Some people love to talk, but rarely take the time to listen. They interrupt, dominate conversations, and assume they already know everything. But real learning happens when you listen, not when you speak. Imagine someone who constantly gives advice without understanding the problem first. Their words, no matter how well intended, miss the mark because they never took the time to truly listen. Practicing active listening not only improves communication, but also deepens understanding. Wise individuals speak less and observe more because they know there's always something to learn. Liam loved visiting his grandfather, a retired schoolteacher with a warm smile and a head full of stories. But one thing frustrated Liam. His grandpa barely spoke in conversations. Whenever family debates started, Grandpa would just sit back, nod, and listen. One evening, Liam blurted out, "Grandpa, why don't you talk more? You have so much wisdom, but you just sit there." Grandpa chuckled and gestured for Liam to follow him to the backyard. He pointed at the two oak trees standing side by side. "See those trees? They've been growing here for decades. One of them survived every storm because its roots go deep. The other one," he pointed to a broken stump. It looked strong, but its roots were shallow. When a big storm came, it fell. Liam was confused. "What does that have to do with talking?" Grandpa smiled. "Listening is how you grow deep roots. People who talk too much only hear their own voices. But when you listen, really listen, you learn. And when you finally speak, your words carry weight." Liam thought about this the next time he was with friends. Instead of rushing to respond, he listened. And to his surprise, when he finally spoke, people actually paid attention. Lesson: talking may make noise, but listening builds wisdom. If you want your words to matter, first learn to hear others. In conclusion, wisdom isn't about knowing everything. It's about how you approach life, how you treat others, and how willing you are to grow. Recognizing foolish behaviors isn't about judgment. It's about self-awareness. Every mistake, every moment of stubbornness, and every missed opportunity to listen is a lesson in disguise. The difference between staying stuck and moving forward lies in your ability to reflect, adapt, and improve. If you watched this video to this point and this content resonates with you, please do well to like and subscribe to the Stoic Citadel, turning on the notification button to get a prompt anytime we drop a fireful content such as this. Embrace humility over arrogance. Choose growth over comfort. Listen more than you speak. And most importantly, never stop learning. The journey to wisdom is lifelong, but every step you take brings you closer to becoming the best version of yourself. True wisdom isn't about what you know, it's about how you grow. Thanks for watching, and do not forget to watch the video popping up next to the right or left-hand corner of your screen. See you in the next one.